Hi, this is Bruce Buffer, your voice of the Octagon, and you're listening to MMA Mental.
Welcome to this week's special UFC Fight Night 57 post-fight. I am joined by two fighters this week, both coming off wins at UFC Fight Night 57. First up, we have Roger Narvaez. He came up as a massive underdog against Luke Barnatt, getting the upset decision. He tells us how he felt underestimated by everyone, including his opponent, Luke Barnatt. And then we're joined by James Vick, who's coming off of a decision victory over Nick Hein. He talks to us a little bit about the fight, and when asked who he'd like to face next, he said he'd love another opportunity to avenge his only defeat against Michael Chiesa. Hope you enjoy these interviews. I'm now joined by Roger Narvaez. Roger beat Luke Barnatt via split decision this weekend, taking his pro record to 7-1 and his UFC record to 1-1. Roger, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Congratulations as well on picking up your first UFC win.
Yeah, definitely. Weight's been lifted off my chest with that one.
Well, obviously, with you dropping down in weight, and obviously that you'd lost your first fight, did you feel more pressure going into this fight?
No, I felt all the pressure was on Luke. I didn't really. I made the mistake my first fight and started reading articles and newspapers and getting on the internet and it kind of got in my head a little bit. So with this fight, I knew I was going to be the underdog. I knew I was aware of Luke Barnatt. I obviously follow all the middleweights in the UFC. Middleweight division pretty closely. So I've been following Luke and I've known about Luke, I should say, for a while. So I really thought this was a win-win for me. I mean, this was going to be my first fight at middleweight officially in the UFC. Luke, this was his fifth fight. So, for me, it was just about getting in there and finding my natural weight class and showing that I can hang with these guys,
As you stated, this was your first UFC fight at middleweight. Did you feel stronger than when you fought at light heavyweight?
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, I joked with my friends about it afterwards, but that's why there's weight divisions. Back in the day, Royce Gracie, did a great job of neutralizing that weight factor. But now everybody knows jiu-jitsu, at least a little bit of it. And, definitely with Cummins, Pat's a strong guy, man. He was real strong, and he was able to grip me and control me. And feeling that kind of strength is not something I'm used to. So, fighting Luke, everybody underestimates him because he's got a real small frame. But, man, he's really powerful. Felt him in the clinch, felt him, when I tried to take him down, he had really good hips. So he is deceptively strong, and his punches do hurt when they land. So, it did feel good once I got on top of him. It was a lot. It was what I expected. I'm a big middleweight, and my top game's pretty solid. And once I got on top of him in the third round, his strength wasn't an issue for me. But I definitely felt a lot stronger throughout the fight. I felt lighter on my feet, quicker. Middleweight's where I've been fighting the last 4 or 5 fights, and that's really where I belong. I did what I had to do to get in, but that being said, I don't plan on fighting it at light heavyweight anytime in the future.
What was it like as well for you fighting, not just in the UFC, but fighting in your home state of Texas as well?
Man, it was great. I had a lot of support. I'm a firefighter here in Corpus Christi where I live. I had a bunch of the guys drive up. I had my family drive up. A lot of people from Corpus support me. I mean, our gyms here are really, really close as far as the camaraderie is concerned. So I had a lot of people drive up to check me out. And, I fought on the Texas circuit before I got in the UFC, so I was pretty well known around Texas, and it showed that night. I fed off the crowd, and as soon as I rocked them in that third round, I could hear them roar. And once I started pounding on them, it just gives you that extra boost of energy, and I definitely used it to my advantage.
Now, we've touched a little bit on Luke already, but you were facing former tough contestant Luke Barnatt. What did you know about him?
I knew he was a real good striker. I knew he was really hard to take down. I think he stopped something like 84% of takedown attempts on him. I knew he had been through the tough season. I knew he was been exposed to really good training, really good training partners, over there in Alliance. He's training with Chael Sonnen. He just the experience of the Tough House itself is a once-in-a-lifetime thing that a lot of us don't get to, do. So he's definitely battle-tested, and I knew he was going to be a tough fight. But I also knew he was underestimating me, as did everybody else. Nobody except the people from my camp picked me to win this fight, and that just goes to show, in this game, you never know what's going to happen. But I definitely believed in myself. I had the best camp that I've ever had in my life. I was in the best shape. My cardio was good. My weight was good. My diet was on point. So I knew we were doing everything in my power to prepare and give him the best, Roger that he's ever seen. His mistake was he looked at a couple clips of me and thought that my hands were horrible and this and that, and he made some comments that I'm sure he's thinking twice about now. But it's one of those things where I just did my best to prepare, and I think it caught him off guard at the fact that I wanted to stand with him. A lot of people wanted me to take it to the ground, including my coaches after the first round. But I felt I could stand with him, and I was there to prove a point. It might not have been the most exciting fight to people, but, when you're at this level, sometimes you got to slow it down a little bit. You can't be getting all wild and getting in there. I mean, he hits hard. And obviously I hit hard too. He wasn't just running at me trying to just throw blow for blow. It was a very technical fight, and it actually played out how I thought it would. I thought it would be a real good technical fight and closely contested. I knew it was going to be a battle. I thought it would go to decision. I didn't think that either of us would finish each other because we're both tough guys. But it went exactly as I thought it would.
Yeah, you mentioned there about the being on the feet, and of course the first 2 rounds were spent on the feet, and it was very, very close. How did you feel on the feet?
Man, I felt great. A lot of people didn't realize, including my coaches at the time, Luke is very long, but he's not quick. He's strong, and he's very technical. But I knew I had the speed advantage. And so, and they said it time after time, Kenny and Brian Stan were talking about it, and they said it, I'm sorry, not Kenny, John Anik were talking about it, and they said it time after time when they were commentating, that I was waiting to counter, and that's exactly what I was waiting to do, because, he's got a long reach, and every time I would go straight forward, he would back up and look to counter himself, so we were kind of playing the same game plan on each other. He was pushing forward a little bit more, but I was giving him that space so that I could counter. It's a false sense of confidence when you go forward, and then all of a sudden you're getting cracked. And that's exactly what I was doing. You look at the numbers at the end of the first round, and I outstruck him. Second round was really close. I do think he won the second round because of the fact that he pressured me. And then you got the third round, obviously, where some people were scoring at 10-8. I felt comfortable on my feet. I knew I could take it to him, and in that second round, I knew I was waiting too much. My coaches told me you're waiting, and I agreed. And so that third round, I obviously came out there. I took the center of the octagon, and I started throwing some heavier punches and being a little bit more aggressive and not dancing around so much. I knew that third round was going to be a deciding factor, and whoever wanted it most was going to win. And I worked too hard to just lose that fight to the judges. So I had to make sure that I put a exclamation point at the end of that round.
I was going to ask you about just to wrap up the first round up the first round. So would you say it was fair to say then, going into that third round, just to clarify, that it looked like it was one each on the score for each round? Round 1 to you, round 2 to Luke. So going to the third round, it was all on that third round.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the first round I knew was close because of the fact that I was backing up a little bit, but he didn't. He only hit me like two times, I think, 2 or 3 times in that first round. And I cracked him a few more than that. You know, I was landing more body kicks. I was landing more leg kicks. He was throwing 1 or 2 punches coming in, and I was countering with 2 or 3 punches that were landing. So I knew the first round I had won. Second round, like I said, I knew I was waiting too long. He didn't really hurt me with anything. He caught me with a good uppercut at the end of the round. I kind of smiled at him because it was a good shot. But other than that, he didn't really daze me or hurt me with anything. I just knew that he was throwing more that round than I was. So going into the third, I knew I had to do something to make sure that the judges didn't give him the fight. I mean, I was in Texas fighting in my home state, but he's the guy that's been around that everybody knows. So I definitely knew I had to put in some good work in that round in order to get the nod from the judges.
Now, as close as the first 2 rounds were, the third round, as we've already said, it was all you. You rocked him with a really big strike. How did it feel when you saw him wobble?
You know, I didn't panic. I didn't get overexcited. I knew I had the power to do it, and I'm actually surprised he didn't wobble earlier. I hit him with some hard shots. I mean, I hit him with a couple of hard crosses, and man, Luke's a tough guy. I give him all the respect in the world. But that leg kick, there's something about leg kicks, man. You can take a punch to the face, but when you get kicked to the temple, there's nothing really you can do about it. Your body's going to shut down. And I knew once I kicked him in the head, I saw him wobble, and I knew he was hurt. And I wanted to walk him down, and that's what I did. I walked him down. I was actually trying to wait till his back hit the cage to throw another leg kick. That way he had nowhere to move from it. And he actually, I threw it, I think, probably about half a second too early, and I missed. But as soon as I missed, he started going to my right. He started moving to his left, which is my right hook. And when he started doing that, I mean, we worked on it. Me and my coach, Rudy Valenzuela, we spent hours and hours in the gym doing that exact same drill. If he gets hurt and starts moving, we work that, and I did what we practiced. I threw a hook, and then I threw another hook that caught him on his chin and sent him crashing down. Once he was crashing down, it was like a shark and smelling blood in the water, and I was on him, and I wasn't going to let him recover from that.
Now, like you say, you followed up and you went to the ground, and you eventually took his back. And you looked to secure the rear naked choke. Now, you didn't just look to secure it. It looked to me, as a fan, that was secure and on, as full as a rear naked choke can be. Were you surprised he didn't tap?
No, because to the naked eye and to a lot of the fans, especially all my buddies that are like, "Oh man, you should have tapped him out." They acted like I wasn't trying. It's kind of funny, but no. What happened was when I locked it in with my left hand, I grabbed behind his shoulder with my left hand to lock it under the chin. So it was locked under the chin, but Luke did a really good job of defending the opposite hand so that I had no leverage to pull with that choke. And he did that every single time that I locked it in. I locked it in 3 times under the chin. And I started with my left hand, then I went to the right hand, and then I went back to the left hand. The second time I had it, he actually pulled down on my wrist just enough, so instead of using a traditional rear naked, I actually was applying pressure to his Adam's apple with my forearm on his windpipe, trying to, so it wasn't necessarily a blood choke, it was more of, that's pretty painful. I don't know if you've never had that done to you, sometimes it's actually even worse than getting a full rear naked put on you because of the discomfort it causes to your throat. But no, man, that's why I didn't try harder, I guess you would say, because I knew I was just going to gas my arms out. I knew down, and Luke has stamina for days. He's got real good cardio, and I didn't want him to end up on top of me. Like I said, that round I knew I had to finish strong, so my main goal was to stay in control in a dominant position. So as soon as I lost the choke, I just decided to go to mount and or half. He shrinks into half guard, and but I thought I had the second one. and I'm pretty sure he was literally a couple seconds away from tapping, man. I felt I didn't have it, 100%, and he's a tough dude, so I just didn't want a chance gassing myself out, with that. I've seen a lot of fighters do that, and you can go for the kill, but I think sometimes you've got to know when to retreat a little bit and change your game plan up.
Now, when it went to the scorecards, you clearly won round 3, but as we've already stated, the first 2 rounds were close. I know we've got an idea of which way they went, but they really could have gone either way. How confident were you that you'd win the fight?
Man, it's weird because I like I told everybody, I said I was confident. As soon as that 3rd round finished, I thought I had won. And if you watch the video when they're announcing us, Luke definitely has a look of worry on his eyes, obviously, because that 3rd round was pretty dominant for me. But they announced my name, I raised my hand, and then when they announced it, it wasn't like shocking to me for some reason. I really felt that I had won. I guess I felt that he didn't do any damage to me. And when you look at the fight, he caught me with a left. What did he get? He caught me with a left hook, I believe, to the left side of my face here, and it cut me. But that was about, he threw that and an uppercut. Other than that, there were no other shots that really dazed me or rocked me or anything like that. So being in there and feeling the impact that my punches were having on him, and feeling the impact that his punches were having on me, I wasn't nervous about it. I definitely thought I won the fight.
Now, how did you feel after the fight? Any injuries? And ideally, when would you like to get back into the octagon?
Man, I don't like to go too much into that just because I don't want to give away too much as far as, if there were any kind of injury suffered. Of course, we got to tell the UFC. But I am a little banged up. It was a 3-round war. To be honest with you, I had multiple injuries in this camp. I was training in Austin at a kickboxing academy. I injured myself in sparring there, and then I injured myself in Albuquerque. Something totally different. One thing I will say is my toe. It looks like the Nutty Professor. I almost broke my toe about a week and a half before the fight during sparring. So my toe was like double the size it should have been. It looked pretty gnarly. But other than that, I'm a little banged up. I got to go to the doctor. But I definitely want to let my body heal up before. Mentally, I'm ready to train. I'm ready to get back in there. I'm hungry. I'm more excited than ever. Knowing that I accomplished a big goal. Like I said, I'm a fighter and to get back in there. But I definitely.
Now, after picking up Oh, sorry. Carry on.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say, I'm going to talk to my managers, and we're going to sit down at the end of this week and have a conversation and go from there.
Now, after picking up your first UFC win then, any ideas on who you'd like to face next? There's some good big names in your division.
Yeah, definitely. Man, I'm a humble guy. I'm just blessed, that God's allowed me to be in the situation that I'm in and make a little bit of money doing something that I love to do. So I'm not one of these guys that's going to sit here and be cocky and call out, Chris Weidman or anything like that. I mean, I know I belong within the UFC. I know I can hang with the guys. Am I saying right now that I'd be able to, take anybody in the top 5 on in the world? I'm realistic. I know I've got holes in my game that I need to definitely get on immediately and start working to improve. But whatever the UFC throws at me, man, I think, like I said, my whole mission was just to prove that I belonged in there, and I think I certainly did that with this fight with Luke.
Well, Roger, I really appreciate you giving me your time, and congratulations on getting your first UFC win and beating a very tough Luke Barnatt.
Yeah, I appreciate you calling and asking for the interviews. It means a lot. A lot of you guys getting the exposure that I need, and I appreciate y'all for that.
Oh, my pleasure, Roger. It's been lovely to chat with you. Before we let you go, I just want to give you a chance to do some shout-outs. So, anyone you want to thank, trainers, sponsors, and also let people know about your social media, Facebook, Twitter.
Yeah, you guys can follow me at Silverback316 on my Twitter account and Instagram. Just look up my name, Roger Narvaez. I've got a fan page on Facebook, and follow me on score.com. That's a new social media site that all the professional athletes are using, including myself. As far as sponsors, man, I've got too many to name. I literally have about 20-something sponsors that are continuously helping me out. I'm just really blessed to have that. Other than that, I just want to thank God for, like I said, allowing me to do something that I enjoy doing, and blessing me and my family the way He has. My wife's been great. She's the biggest supporter, and with everybody on my side, we're definitely going to do some big things in 2015.
Well, I can't wait to see you step back in the cage again, Roger. I hope you heal up quickly.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
I am now joined by James Vick. James is coming off a unanimous decision win over Nick Hein, taking his record to 7-0 and his UFC record to 3-0. James, congratulations on your win, and thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Now, talk a little bit about the build-up. Now, this was Nick Hein's second fight in the UFC. What did you know about your opponent?
I'd watched film on him and, checked up on his record and stuff like that. I knew he was a great judo competitor before his MMA career, and I knew he had pretty good power in his hands, and he was a very confident fighter for sure.
What was it like for you fighting back in Texas and having the crowd behind you, and of course your first UFC fight in Texas as well?
Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing. Had all my friends and family there. Big turnout. I fight at a college, in Texas. The University of Texas was just a great experience.
Now, moving on to the fight. Now, in the first round, Hein did drop you twice with different times with punches. How hurt were you from those shots?
Never. I was spoiled. He caught me. One of them, I felt like I was off balance from when I threw a right hook. I felt like I was off balance when I got caught, because one of my legs was actually in the ground when he landed the punch. Or one of my legs was in the air, one was still on the ground when he landed the punch. And then the other one, he counted off my knee very well, which is really good for him. I was never hurt. I was fully aware of everything that was happening, as it was happening. And I remember the fight, exactly the way it went down. Never really heard this, call off guard for sure.
Now, on the first knockdown, you scored a brilliant sweep to reverse position. Did you feel a lot stronger than him on the ground?
Yeah, I was surprised actually. I knew he was going to be physically. I figured he was going to be physically super strong. Possibly stronger than me. But once I locked up with him, I felt like he wasn't stronger than me. I'm sure, he had some very tricky throws and stuff had he attempted them standing, but on the ground, I felt like, honestly, once I got around him, I felt like it was a matter of time. I was going to catch him or something, or he was going to be in trouble if he chose to stay on the ground with me.
Now, going into the second round, what did your corner advise you to do differently after the first round?
Just basically quit standing in front of him and keep my hands up my chin down. Pretty simple instructions, and move a little more and throw more feints and jabs and stuff like that. Just quit standing targets in front of him.
Now, it was a very close fight. How confident were you going to the judges?
I was very confident. I definitely thought I won the second and third round easily. And I know you got the two knockouts of the first round. I still thought the first round was close, because if you go back to the punch stats numbers, I still landed double the strikes he did in the first round. And it's not boxing where they give you like a 10-8 or 10-7 round. Those knockdowns weren't real damaging. Despite what I guess the commentators may have said or whatever, I was never really wrong. But I figured I knew they did in the first round probably. And I definitely thought he would win the second or the third round. And on damage alone, he had two black eyes and a cut on his head, and I didn't have a scratch on my face. So I definitely thought I won the second and third round. I was very confident that I won the fight. Regardless of regardless of whether we was at my home state or not, it wouldn't matter. I felt like no matter where I was at, I would have won that decision.
Now, talking a little little bit about that first round. One judge did score the first round for you, and you've just said there about the stats and stuff. Were you surprised at that, or did you think that with what you've just said, you thought that was fair?
I mean, honestly, at the moment of the fight, when it was happening, when the scorecards were up, I wasn't that surprised because I knew I wasn't ever hurt when he got the knockdowns. I knew I was never really damaged, so I didn't understand what the big deal was. They were acting like I almost got finished when I knew that I hadn't. But I guess maybe it was different to Live, Brown, or whatever the case may be. But the round was close. I mean, regardless of what people want to say, I landed double the strikes at him according to the company, according to the punch stats, the strike stats, and then I got the reversal out. I had top position for a little bit. It was a close round, and going back and watching it, I still thought the same thing. But I mean, you never know what's going on. So at the time, I wasn't super surprised, but I guess everybody else was.
How did you feel after the fight? Do you have any injuries? And ideally, when would you like to get back in?
My hand. Well, here's the thing. I felt kind of bad because the performance I had, honestly, I felt like I gave a boring fight. I personally, in my mind, I've never been in a boring fight in my life. I've never had anybody do me. And but the thing is my hands were severely messed up before that fight even started. I had two. Both of my hands were messed up. I had 3 surgeries on the same hand. So for two weeks before that fight, I didn't punch anything at all. I didn't throw any punches. All I did was shadow box to keep my hands tight. So I haven't hit bags, haven't hit pads, haven't sparring over 2 weeks before that fight because my hands were so messed up. So I knew it was going to be an issue. That's why I fought. The strategy I fought is to make sure that I would get through with, because I knew my hands were injured, and I've had, we've had problems with them, and also my shin was messed up from last fight. My right shin is never healed from last fight, and so my body, I definitely, I didn't take any injuries in the fight or anything. It's just the stuff that was already hurt, just still hurt, and possibly got a little bit worse, especially with my hands. But what it was is, that fight I had in August in Tulsa, my body never healed from that last fight in that last training camp. My body was still messed up, and maybe I shouldn't have took this fight so soon because of that, because of, the damage and everything, but I did, and it worked out great. But that's why I'm going to have to take a little bit more time in between fights this time, maybe another extra month or month and a half, because until that my body healed up, it's just been hurt the whole training camp.
So, how long do you think you'll need to take off then before you're ready to fight again? Do you feel?
I mean, this fight was 3 months apart. I'm thinking, I would like to fight maybe the end of March. Maybe then that would give me enough time to heal my body up. Just because, like I said, I took after that last fight. Basically, I tried to let my body heal, and it felt like I didn't take any time off at all. I didn't take a lot of time off because I had that fight, scheduled within like 6 days after I had finished my last one. But basically after like a week of not practicing, my body didn't feel any better whatsoever, and I knew there was something wrong, and it wasn't reacting right. This whole last training camp was so bad for me. I had to go to acupuncture and the chiropractor, 2 or 3 days a week, the whole training camp, just to make it through. So I know now that I need to be smart and let my body go up.
Now you're on a great run now in the UFC. You're 3-0. Obviously, you're an undefeated fighter. Ideally, who would you like to face next? I don't really. It's not really up to me. I mean, of course, I want to fight Michael Chiesa again. The guy who beat me on the Ultimate Fighter show. That was my last loss, even though it's not officially on my record. I know it was a loss. I mean, we're good friends. But I would love to fight him. For sure. If I could take a match, that would be it. But I know that I probably wouldn't get that match up right now. And, it's not up to me. So I mean, I'm not going to really call anybody else. Whoever they want me to fight, I'll fight. Well, James, I really appreciate you giving me your time, and congratulations on your 3rd UFC victory.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And before we let you go, I just want to give you a chance to do any shout-outs. Is there anyone you'd like to thank? Any sponsors, trainers, and also if you want to shout out your Facebook and your Twitter?
Absolutely. I would like to thank, all my sponsors in this last night. Fire Lucid, Deep Blood, Smart Salad, Dr. Rick Rosa, Ross team. Pretty much, sorry if I forgot anybody, but all my sponsors, my manager, Warren, my management company, KO Reps, and, my team I train with, Stanley Tilney, Team Wood Urban, my training camp that I train with, and just everyone helped me get ready for this fight, and I really appreciate all my friends and family and all the support I've got. And my Twitter and Facebook is James Vick MMA is my Facebook and Twitter name.
Well, I can't wait till you step back in the cage, James, and I hope you heal up quickly and we see you back soon.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Hope you enjoyed listening to those interviews. If you'd like to hear more interviews by me, interviewing UFC winners after each event, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is MMA Mental. You can also follow me on Twitter, which is at MMA Mental. We have a Facebook fan page, which is also MMAmental.com. And you can also add me on Facebook, which is Ray Thompson.